Welcome to Creator Upload, your creator economy podcast. I'm Lauren Schnipper.
Back in action, and I'm Joshua Cohen. Lauren,
Yes,
you got an interview today.
I do, with Alex Josephson, who is the VP of Brandworks at LinkedIn. He's going to talk at length about all the things that they are doing with creators on LinkedIn. It's really exciting.
Excited for that, Lauren. Before we get to it, have you been watching Coachella?
No. Questions? Shocked?
I haven't either, but I have checked out Coachella TV, which is part of YouTube's new station initiative.
Yes.
Let me tell you, it is a compelling offering.
Okay, tell me.
You go to the Coachella channel on YouTube, and then you know how if a channel is active in a live stream, the live stream video will be first up in the table of what's presented on their channel page on YouTube?
Sure.
Right. So this has the same placement, basically, where it's at the top of their channel page on YouTube. It looks like it could be a live stream, except there's a little station tag on it. And you can go to it, and it's just playing.
Just playing all the time?
It's just playing.
Great.
It's just playing.
I mean, that's how I want to go to Coachella. The only way to go to Coachella is that, or you airlift me and plop me down into one of those air conditioning sort of tents that's not gonna be blown away, because I've heard some of them getting blown away, with lots of food, and then you pick me up and airlift me out. Those are those are the two options for me if you want me to go to Coachella.
So there are 601 people watching it right now. They're commenting on it. I feel like the station thing is gonna catch on in a major way.
Yeah.
If you just want some antidote to this algorithmic onslaught of whatever YouTube thinks you're going to like, and just go to something that you know you kind of like and then put it on. For instance, I think this is a way that you could encourage your children to get some more screen time in, if you're interested, by going to a Mark Rober station.
Sure. I also think what you're talking about is commonly referred to as television.
Correct.
Am I just call me crazy? You just turn on the TV because you're I like Law and Order, and it's just on.
And then you know what's going to happen now is there's probably going to be a list or some type of, I don't know, station guide that YouTube's going to develop, where it's going to show you all of the channels that have stations.
Where the channels are, what's on at any given time. I mean, it's just, the possibilities are endless.
It's amazing what the product team's doing over there.
Yeah.
For real, though, I do really like this. I think a lot of other people
I think
will
it's great.
too.
It's TV. I'm not mad at it.
And so, Lauren, you didn't really catch Coachella, but surely you caught the Justin Bieber.
I did. I have heard about the Biebs on stage, scrolling through his old YouTube videos. I have. You can't not have heard that. Yes.
Lauren, I think you and I, as established individuals in this creator economy space, we're going to some type of jail because we haven't written a think piece about Justin Bieber at Coachella yet.
Sure. Well, ours are verbal. This is going to be our verbal think piece about Justin Bieber. So would you like me to begin? I mean,
please go. Tell the audience what's going on.
So Bieber went on stage at Coachella. He has not performed for a long time. Rumor has it he was paid upwards of $10 million. And as a part of this performance, he literally went on his his YouTube channel from back in the day and started scrolling through his old videos and singing along to them. So the naysayers out there think this is sort of a cop-out. They also feel well, he sold his music catalog, and by doing this, he's basically playing the music for songs that he doesn't own anymore, and those folks are making money off of it. And also, he was paid $10 million, and this is what they're getting, for that. So the other folks on the other side of the aisle are this is kind of innovative and cool, and he's going back and looking in his life. And also, he hasn't performed in a very long time, and he's not a 13-year-old tween anymore that's going to be doing Backstreet Boys moves. This is who he is now. Also, evidently, he owes a lot of money to concerts that he had to concert promoters when he had to cancel tours due to his issues or whatever. And so I think that rumor has it this money is maybe going just directly to the concert promoters that he owes money to. And some people think this is kind of cool performance art. You know what I mean? Justin Bieber, started on YouTube. I will make the argument when you're ready, Josh, that he is not, in fact, a YouTuber, despite being sort of discovered on YouTube. But let me know when you're ready for that.
We'll get to that argument in a sec. But yes, like you said, the range of takes on this has been from Justin Bieber's some lazy hack who couldn't think of anything better to do,
right,
to Justin Bieber is some Yoko Ono inspired, incredible artist of the decade,
yes,
who came up with this novel idea to go on stage in front of thousands of people and stream to millions more his old YouTube catalog.
Yes. Where do you sit on this argument? What side are you on?
like in most things, I think I'm vacillating between one and the other. What I just don't understand is both like the level of ire and the level of admiration that this has caused in the audiences that have been exposed to this. I don't quite get it. It seems to me like the guy thought this would be something cool. He went out and did it. And it is kind of cool. If you like Justin Bieber and you're a Justin Bieber fan and want to see him in a different mindset that looks more maybe attuned to what he would look like if he came up now as a creator. So him scrolling through YouTube videos on stage and on stream and then commenting on those videos, singing along to some of them, intermixed with his actual performance does seem a little avant-garde. It just also seems like something any streamer who's a pop star could do on stage today.
Sure.
In some capacity.
Would do on stage today, yeah.
100%. So I just don't understand the level of intellectual insight that has been cast on this specific item to talk about like what's going on with him or the greater ecosystem at large. Lauren, explain it to me. What am I missing?
Well, first of all, good on Bieber because we're talking about him and everybody's talking about him right now. So like maybe that was the goal, maybe it wasn't. But either way, like all press is good press. There's no such thing as bad press.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And so like at least he was on stage, you know, to some extent giving the fans what they want. Listen, the internet, I don't know if you heard, is very polarizing, and things that really catch on are things that are very extreme either way. So I think the majority of us like we're just like cool. You know what I mean? Like I think the majority of us are just like not that we don't care, because I'm like not mad that he's on stage. Like he's very talented. But I think that people just enjoy like, you know, the extreme opinions and the engagement that it gets on the platforms. That's what I'll say about that.
And also, you have some thoughts is that he's been portrayed in a lot of these thought pieces as like the prodigal YouTuber.
He's not. So he's not a YouTuber at all. He was discovered after like posting a video or like a couple on YouTube by Usher, and then ultimately like catapulted into the major like mainstream success that he have. He was not a YouTuber in the sense where he was like doing the thing and the grind and making the money on the platform. And I'm not mad at it. It's just like, and I think that like, you know, my definition of, you know, creator has vastly expanded even since I first had this sort of made this argument. But like, this is not a digital content creator. This is not somebody whose main line of business has ever been making content on the internet, and digital is not his first platform. I would argue that like creators like, you know, we're having this interview with Alex Josephson coming up, who, you know, is working with creators on LinkedIn, and like, you know, a LinkedIn creator, B2B, is very different, you know, than, you know, your traditional vlogger. There's a million different types of creators, but, you know, he's never made his business, and I don't mean business necessarily monetarily, really, but like his work as a part of his oeuvre, like posting on the internet. That is not what this man's thing is. And so he's not a YouTuber. He's not a product.
The dude likes singing and then put his tapings of him singing up on YouTube.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, you know, you know, Hannah Hart, you know, got drunk one time and made a funny video and sent it to her friends on this platform called YouTube, and was sort of, you could say that took off, and she didn't then go off of YouTube and then do all the things. She then stayed on YouTube and made a whole career for herself. That's a YouTuber. Both discovered effectively on the platform. One made their sort of work on it, you know, for a time anyway, and the other did not. And there's neither are good or bad, neither are bad or good. You know what I mean? They're both legitimate.
Right. I think the fundamental differences here is that like Justin Bieber could have been discovered by Scooter Braun and Usher at a local venue, or at a church, and or wherever else. It just happened to be YouTube, and then they took that and ran with it.
Yes.
But I don't think his original channel or his audience or his viewership played a part in his ascendancy.
No.
Like to where he is today.
I think the kernel of that being his story was like a data point into his success. But yeah, no, I don't think it is. And I think that the only reason why this is relevant is like in talking about like, even though we are so far along in terms of like the legitimacy of this industry, I think it's relevant as like, that's not what I would point to say like, oh, like look at the, you know, success of kind of YouTuber. That's not what I would point to, right? I would point to like, first top of my head is like Rhett and Link, who have a company and just celebrated their 9 millionth episode of Good Mythical Morning, and they have a company of 100 people. And you know what I mean? Like that is a YouTuber creator success story, right? Like those are the stories that we should be talking about. Like Justin Bieber is an amazing artist who was initially very early on discovered on YouTube and then went elsewhere. And so,
Yeah.
and to be fair, that was what YouTube was when we started in a lot of ways, right? Like it was thought of this incubator for like other things, other platforms, because it was not thought of in and of itself as a place where you could have success. And to be honest, like at that time when he was sort of discovered, you couldn't really, right? Like, unless, it wasn't, you couldn't get the levels of success if he was just like, no, I'm just going to stay on YouTube. It wouldn't even have been an option. It wouldn't have been a thing at all. Oh, I love talking about this stuff. It's so crazy.
It is very good though for YouTube and its mythology to claim that Justin Bieber was like an OG YouTuber. The same way it is good for YouTube and its mythology to be like, hey, we've always been about short form video. Look at the first video we ever uploaded to the platform.
That's my favorite. I love that. Shorts been our thing. It's no big deal.
Yeah.
Alex Josephson, VP of Brandworks at LinkedIn. Welcome to Creator Upload.
Hey, Lauren. Thank you for having me. Excited to be here.
So I'm going to start with some hard-hitting questions, okay?
Uh-oh.
First one.
Let's do it. Let's get into
Should
it.
every CEO be a creator?
Should every CEO be a creator? Every CEO could be a creator, and every CEO should certainly be active on the communication channels where their customers, employees, investors, and shareholders are. Like the data actually shows, it's not even our data.
Yeah.
People are more likely to buy
Yep.
from brands, businesses, and companies whose C-suite is active socially. On LinkedIn, we happen to have 98% of Fortune 500 CEOs.
There you go.
That's not by coincidence. It's working. And yeah, so it's not an if, but a how.
It's just been really interesting over the last few years to see these sort of creator, founder, CEOs kind of just like, use LinkedIn as their home for storytelling as they're building their businesses, for better or worse. And you're seeing a lot of like ups and downs. And it feels like it's almost a requirement now, which is why I wanted to ask the question.
It is. The reality is like on LinkedIn, look, 2 out of every 3 business decision makers today active on the platform.
Yep.
They're 45 years or younger.
Wow.
So that's created a shift. Like this is a generation that's grown up communicating publicly on social channels. When it comes to professional network of business and industry, like LinkedIn is the premier channel for that type of conversation.
Yep.
That's what's driving engagement. And then suddenly, like, members across our entire spectrum are seeing, well, what's working, what's resonating? Well, I will replicate that. So whether you're Jamie Dimon, posting a vertical full screen video, from your office, or you're John Gray, the president of Blackstone, every time he gets off the phone, reading through the earnings report with his investors, he sits down
these
in front of
folks
his
are
desk.
arguably not younger than 30. We're with.
Correct. I mean, I don't want to speak on either of their behalf, but I think it's a safe assumption.
Yeah,
If you just look at their LinkedIn profiles and look at when they graduated university and how long they've been in the business.
Yeah.
So John Gray's sitting down, plopping his phone up on his desk, doing the earnings in 60 seconds, vertical video. It gets anywhere from 2,000 to 3,000 engagements, within a matter of days. And so that's now the norm. And so it's not if, it's just how, and finding the right balance between your persona, your personality, your company's values and principles and message, and then figuring out how to deliver that in an organic, authentic way.
Well, it's also just interesting because the institutions that you're speaking of, I think historically are very closed door and very hush hush. And this is just the opposite of that. And you have to get comfortable in those kind of like levels and in those roles to be more open, and sort of forthcoming with not just like your employees, but like the world. And that's just like, I don't know. It's just like, I think that people aren't talking because B2B creators, which we're going to get into, now in a minute, is that like, I think this is like a really kind of actually profound shift that's happening in the whole business world because of like a platform like LinkedIn.
Yeah. Well, the truth is 7 out of 10 B2B buyers, right? Like people who are like, actually like, hey, I'm making decisions on an agentic solution for my organization or a cloud solution for my company. 7 out of 10 of them are now from the millennial or Gen Z like combined demographic, right? So it's like millennials are increasingly reaching like increasingly influential seats of influence in business.
They're growing up is what I think what you're saying.
Yeah. Like a couple years ago, we used to say like Gen Z was entering the workforce. Well, now Gen Z is actually entering like decision-making roles.
Right.
They're entering manager, director positions. And so this is a generation that they want to see and hear from the people and the humans and the faces behind the logos who are running the company, who are making decisions, and who are building the products and services. It's not even just like the CEOs and the C-suite who are like, it's like, you know, a lot of tech companies are doing a really great job of evangelizing the people who are building and shaping their products, the product managers, the lead developers, the head of AI and innovation. Those are the members who are really getting in the feed and getting active in a video forward way.
Yeah.
And that is how 56%, I think, of B2B buyers say that their purchase decisions are influenced in the final stages by a creator or influencer whose content they've come across and consumed.
Yeah, no, it's crazy.
Yeah.
I think it's worth noting that there's a platform called Profound, which is, I believe, the full stack marketing platform for the marketer future. But they said that LinkedIn is the most cited domain for professional queries across all major AI search engines. So I think posting on LinkedIn seems to be important. So I want to talk a little bit about real quickly, we're about a month out from the NewFronts, where you guys made a ton of announcements. Want to hear kind of how it's going, any early indicators, good or bad? Let us know what's up.
Yeah. So this is our second NewFronts at LinkedIn. And last year's NewFront, we kind of came out and said, hey, we're seeing a shift on the platform, increase in video consumption, increase in video creation, we're seeing content and ads featuring people, executives, customers, creators outperform standard ads on the platform. So we've got a bunch of things we're going to bring to market and test and experiment, namely pairing brands with the right creators and voices on LinkedIn in a new ad format. It was new. We didn't know if we had a strong hypothesis that it would be effective. Fast forward a year later to a couple weeks ago, we're back on stage for our second NewFronts. And what we tested last year in terms of creator-driven sponsor programming with brands performed so well. We had the chief business officer of IBM virtually on stage talking about how their sponsorship of a creator-driven program around founder stories helped them drive like lead completion increases by 190%.
Yep.
Right, versus what they're accustomed to. They're back renewing their partnership. So at NewFronts, we announced what we call Top Voices 360, which is basically we find the most talked about engaging topics of conversation on LinkedIn. We partner with the most influential voices around those topics. So think CEO playbook, CEO interviews with Stephen Bartlett, right? The known CEO whisperer. AI in action with Ali K. Miller, who's the most followed voice in AI.
I've seen her speak. She's so awesome.
On LinkedIn, right? 1.6 million. I mean, imagine the most followed voice in AI on LinkedIn, right? Where there's like, leadership lessons with Simon Sinek, corporate workplace culture, and a show called The Break Room with Corporate Natalie. And advertisers now have the ability to sponsor and run their ads adjacent to and within original programming around all those topics that are published from those creators' personal profile pages. They have the ability to partner directly with those creators as facilitated by LinkedIn to produce net new original branded content, custom content, and then even extend the partnership into real world activations where these voices and creators can show up at your conferences, your events, maybe speak on stage, meet with your customers, capture content in real time. So it's basically this 360-degree creator marketing engine that we're bringing out to market. We've got multiple brands who piloted with us coming out of last year's NewFronts who are back and renewing, other brands who have already signed on.
And when they sign on, what is that actually? What are they committing? Are they committing to something specific?
So what they're when they sign on to partner or sponsor a particular show and voice. So think over a 3 to 6 month period, depending on their campaign flights, depending on the nature of the program, their ads will run in front of every single episode.
So they're committing to like a buy.
So it's like so it's like a media share voice buy, short form pre-roll running in front of short form video content published from the creator's personal profile pages, where we typically see 2 to 3x lift in engagement when content's published from a personal profile versus like a logo company, business. And then beyond that, depending on their appetite to go beyond media adjacency, there's extension opportunities to partner around custom content, to partner around experiential activations with
Are
the
you
creator and the
involved?
voice.
Are you involved in the
Yeah,
experiential
we're
activations?
managing. Yeah, absolutely. So
Okay.
we are managing end to end everything from the media planning and
Oh, wow.
integration to the custom content creation and production to, yes, if that creator or voice is going to show up at your annual industry conference or investor day or whatever it may be, we're managing that experience. So in this case, the burden is removed from the brand and their agency partners of having to A, figure out who are the right voices I should be aligning with and partnering with, and B, what are the steps I need to take to do it, and C, we handle and subsidize all of the fees and costs associated with that. So
Sure.
it's a completely working media investment for the advertisers, who are really not just trying to drive brand awareness and top of funnel objectives, but are trying to drive down funnel impact in terms of like lead generation
Yeah.
and pipeline,
Real,
right?
real
Now,
ROI.
yeah. Now that's like
Mhm.
the high touch sort of, the high touch managed service that we announced at NewFronts Top Voices 360. We've also announced through our brand link platform, which is basically the ability for advertisers to run ads as pre-roll in front of premium vetted video content from publishers and creators on LinkedIn.
Yep.
We've announced that is now available across a wider variety of categories. So you can just, in any given moment, run ads in front of premium video content from a variety of creators across finance and money or tech and AI or all these different topics that we know the market desires. And what we're moving towards is a self-serve model as well. So brands will be able to do that in a really turnkey fashion. So yes, you'll hear us talk about, the big iconic marketers like IBM, but we're democratizing this model to the small and medium businesses who make up a large swath of the active advertising on the platform.
Well, I think there's so many things I want to sort of double
Yeah,
click on.
please, let's get into it. Yeah.
So the first thing is like, it's well known. I worked at Facebook for a long time, and my
Yeah.
experience at a platform was that if you didn't start with scale, that you could get no traction. And one of the things that, from my vantage point externally, looking at what you guys have been doing at LinkedIn, what I love is it seems like you're starting with impact that will lead to scale versus like, you didn't announce how many people are in your sort of 360 program, but I would venture to guess it's not like the thousands, right? And so it seems to me, I always have believed that like, yes, you could start with scale to get to even bigger scale, but like, I also think that there's a real kind of argument to start again with real impact and do it right. And then you kind of grow. And then, but more than that, like if you have major successes within this program, that will lead to more people wanting to be on. Like it's sort of an aspirational funnel is how I think about it. So I'd love to just talk about that philosophically. You were at Twitter, and I have to imagine Twitter in the days you were there were similar to like how Facebook would, where everything is scale from sort of day one. Do you feel like that's a different sort of philosophical approach at LinkedIn?
So scale is important. Scale is
No, it's important. It's about how you get there, though. Like it's not necessarily not one direction necessarily.
Yeah. In this instance, over the past year, we said, let's test this model. Let's test this model because here's what we are seeing at scale. And so to be clear, like, there were patterns we were seeing at scale that informed even testing this model that I just walked you through, this Top Voices model, which were, one, well, people are creating and consuming more video content, upwards of 30% year on year.
Yep.
To content, whether organic or paid, from individual members on the platform, aka that could be your CEO or your creator, is outperforming. It's like a 2.5x lift in engagement. And then in-stream advertising, like pre-roll advertising, when it's paired with relevant content, we're seeing like completion rate lifts of like 130% versus what we typically see in the feed. And then lastly, when advertisers retarget off of those pre-roll exposures, they're seeing like an 18% lift in the likelihood someone's going to fill out and complete like a lead generation form and like ask the advertiser to like contact them again and send them more information, right? So all of those things said, well, if we take all of those ingredients and blend them together, that is going to yield what is what really is the model for Top Voices 360. We tested the model last year with call it a couple of dozen creators and voices with several big top Fortune 500, Fortune 100 advertisers. The results for in terms of how the content performed, in terms of how the media performed for the advertisers, and in terms of how our members engage with the content, we're all up and to the right from a metric standpoint. And so now we are taking the steps to scale that. And I can actually talk a bit more specifically in terms of numbers and what that looks like. So when we think about scale, now we're at the point of scale, right? And so now we're taking a model that's worked. And I would say advertisers are seeing what the IBMs and the SAPs did with us with volume 1 of what is now Top Voices 360. Similarly, creators and voices on the platform are looking at the Ali Millers, the Stephen Bartletts, the Guy Razes, the Candace Nelsons, and they're seeing those programs play out on the platform. They're seeing what partnership looks like with the right brand in the right context. And so a number of things we announced at NewFronts are you will now be able to run brand link advertising in front of a larger swath of creator content. 1. 2, we're launching in the coming weeks new features within LinkedIn's campaign management tool, where advertisers will be able to browse and peruse a larger ecosystem of creators and voices on LinkedIn based on a number of signals in terms of who's most relevant based on the ad campaign you just ran that you might consider running your ads in front of or partnering directly with. What industry are they in? What companies do they work for? What markets are they in? You can click in and start to see their content in terms of engagement and reach and impressions and what their recent posts look like, and then contact them directly for partnership.
I think you're also just talking about like what you're providing. Like brands are no longer just like giving creators money for like money's sake and just like, like they want real, you're providing them with like real information and data.
Yeah. I mean, the reality is the B2B creator movement and dynamic, yes, it's trailing the B2C creator movement by several years. And part of that is, I think, due to the fact that there's been this generational shift in who B2B buyers are today versus several years ago, right? Which we spoke about, we alluded to a little earlier. But if you're in B2C, if you're marketing a chicken sandwich as an influencer, I ultimately care as a consumer, like, is this relevant? Is this engaging? Is it entertaining? Is it funny? I'm not thinking to myself, like, what's this influencer's track record when it comes to chicken sandwiches? Like, I don't really care.
Sure.
Does it capture my attention and then maybe it persuades me to to buy a chicken sandwich or try it or talk about it? Pair of sneakers, new soda, a lip gloss, whatever it may be. And B2B, when Alex Kantrowitz is part of the program we ran with SAP, over the last year, who's like a prolific subject matter expert in the industry and on LinkedIn when it comes to all things tech and AI. And he's posting about SAP's latest solutions and their ability to simplify infrastructure and provide a business's a competitive edge. He's putting his livelihood on the line.
Like he has to have a lot of credibility.
And
to say
so
this.
there's credibility there. And yes, there's a commercial element to it, but it's a different ball game. And so where we're really seeing marketers and creators have success together is through these deeper partnerships, through these longer lasting activations versus these sort of one-off, quote unquote, like, how do we go viral with one post on this platform or another?
I think that's what I'm sort of talking about with LinkedIn in terms of philosophically. It feels deeper early on versus like, I don't know, like there's a lot of movement right now, to your point about like, instead of doing one-offs with creators, which has really been in terms of brand deals, the historically what we've seen, people are trying to go management, creators are trying to have more kind of impactful relationships. And it feels like LinkedIn is sort of starting from that point in a way that I feel like is different, but I get it. You guys want scale. Wait, I want to ask you.
Yeah. Just one more thing. Like, and in terms of scale, like just some numbers for you, like if it's helpful. So volume of creators on the platform has doubled from 2021 to present day, right? And so number one. Number two, with the monetization channels that we've rolled out, we've tripled creator payouts on LinkedIn year.
What does that mean? Give me a number.
I can't give you an exact
number, Alex.
I can't give you an exact number.
Triple for what? Like 1 to 3? Like what? Like triple can be a lot of things.
We haven't disclosed our payouts, but the point is we're paying creators 3 times more today than we were a year ago.
That's better than 3 times.
Check out the names of the voices and the advertisers from season 1 of Top Voices 360 and. And
does that include like a rev share though? Because you're doing rev share.
So there's rev share. So every ad that runs in front of any piece of content from any creator, there's a rev share back to back to that creator, and that's a the pretty standard model. I spoke about how we're opening up discovery features in our ads manager to allow brands to discover creators more easily for the first time ever. And we are seeing, we will launch probably with about 4 digits worth of creators to start. And these are not just random members on the platform.
Yeah, I
These
want to talk about that for a second, just and I can talk about this. I'm not just saying this. I'm actually a big fan of LinkedIn. I'm so excited you guys are doing all these initiatives. But one of the things I think that's really interesting is I sort of like do a lot of work around this notion of conversion, and I'm sort of obsessed with the notion that follower count basically has very little to do with like your ability to convert, right? Like I hate the word engagement because what does that mean? But it really is about engagement, and I believe like influence in the truest sense. And I think you were touching on that when you're talking about CEOs who are like, espousing their opinions, but they have in this space, they have to come with a lot of credibility. But relatively speaking, like Corporate Natalie, for example, has 286,000 followers on LinkedIn. And if you look at that from like in the context of the sort of YouTubers, that's not that many. But I would argue that her 286,000 followers are probably way more engaged than somebody that might have 10x that, So I just, I'd love to talk about that a little bit. Does that make sense?
It does. Yeah. It's a quality conversation, not a quantity conversation.
There
are like many channels and mediums that creators and businesses are both on.
Yeah.
There are channels where you have signals on, hey, here is a user. Let's assume they're a real person. They're consuming or engaging with content. We don't know anything about them. Then you have channels where you say like, okay, here's a member of this platform that's created a profile. The avatar is a purple cat robot. The username is
I heard you're
Magic
way into purple cat robots.
Bez 13, and like, they watched this this webinar clip from this SaaS company. But are they a procurement professional, a CTO, or a yoga instructor?
Right.
We don't know.
Right.
Then there's channels where it's like, okay, we see your picture and your face, and this is your name, and maybe your age, and your email address, and your gender, and where you are in the world. We might be able to infer what you do for a living, maybe. And then on LinkedIn, you get all of those standard signals, but we know exactly what your job title is and what company you work for and who are the other. If you're a CTO or a procurement decision maker, we know who you're connected with and who are the HR professionals and the finance professionals and the legal professionals at your company who you're also connected with. Because in B2B, you can't just think about your core ICP. You need to think about all of the members of that buying group, who are either going to approve or reject a purchase decision, right? And so that, yes, 200,000 followers versus 2 million followers, I would say all followers are not created
equally. No, I'm a very big believer in that. I was on a panel at SOCOM a few weeks ago talking about this exact thing. And I asked, it was a lot about affiliate and how that is helping obviously indicate whether or not people can convert. But I said, what are the other indicators around conversion? And they cited things like, do they complete and open a Substack, read a Substack? Do you open an email? It was not like, are you like a follower on TikTok? No offense to TikTok. You know what I mean? Like, it was like basically you're talking about like really like people that spend time with your kind of creator and whether or not that they can convert. So I find it fascinating. Lastly, I could, again, talk all day. CTV, you've got some CTV plans. I know that connected TV is the fastest growing service on YouTube. Everything is old is new again. We're all watching everything on TV. Just talk to me a little bit about LinkedIn and connected TVs.
Sure. Yeah. So we've been in market with connected TV now for over a year. And what we're seeing, so just for the listeners out there, so LinkedIn connected TV ads allow advertisers to take the same audiences they're targeting on LinkedIn with all the signals we just talked about. So if you want to reach CXOs at mid-market enterprise companies on LinkedIn, we know you can do that today. What CTV ads do is allow you to then target those same members, those same decision makers off of LinkedIn when they are streaming their favorite movie, TV, sports, news content across basically the largest, most prominent streaming channels in the world: Paramount Plus, Peacock, Roku, Samsung, Hulu, Fubo, etc. And then you can even retarget them back on LinkedIn. What we're finding is like advertisers say versus linear TV, it's 4 times more cost effective. They're seeing 70% incremental reach.
Wow.
And then what Kantar, this is not our data, we're not creating our own homework. Kantar is saying with B2B audiences specifically, LinkedIn CTV ads are driving like a 2.6x higher lift in brand awareness versus standard CTV providers because of the relevance. So B2B marketers historically have said, well, if I want awareness, I do need to spend on TV. It's very expensive, and I know I'm going to accept waste because I'm not really sure. Yes, I'm reaching people who might make a SaaS purchase decision today, but I'm also reaching people who work in industries that have nothing to do with my brand, product, or service. With our CTV product, we're saying, no, you can advertise with the reach and frequency of TV in a big screen, sound on, captive environment, but you don't have to accept that waste, and then you can nurture down funnel. ServiceNow is like an early adopter of LinkedIn CTV ads. They said, they drove a 19 percentage point lift in brand awareness. You would expect that. But then when they retargeted off those CTV exposures back on LinkedIn with like a lead gen, lower funnel format, it's like a 45% lift in completion rates for leads that they didn't hand over to their sales team. So it's exciting. We're starting to make it available programmatically. We announced at NewFronts, we're starting with a trade desk, which is, the household leading platform for programmatic advertising, particularly in the CTV space. And so that's the path we're headed down. We're excited.
I think it's really important. I think it's really something that people kind of don't talk about enough. And so I think it's fascinating. Alex, it was so nice having you on the podcast. I'm very excited about all these announcements. Where can people follow what you are sort of espousing and going to be doing on LinkedIn?
Yes. So you can follow LinkedIn for marketing.
Yeah.
Is probably the best way to stay up to speed. And then, feel free to follow me. I'm always posting about our updates and plans and the work we're doing with our advertising customers.
Amazing.
So it's great to be here, Lauren. Thanks for having me. Really appreciate it.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Alex, for coming on. Very excited to see all these initiatives come to light.
So, Lauren, I want to talk to you about something.
Tell me.
Considering how everything old is now new again, it feels like the cycle of news has been very headline heavy, 2013 coded.
Tell me more.
At least in our ecosystem.
Okay.
I want to tell you about some of the recent headlines from, let's just take Variety, for instance, that have happened in the past month or so. So here's one. Alex Cooper sets YouTube reality competition show featuring Mormon wife star Dakota Mortensen, Demi Eggman, and more polarizing figures. There's another one, Mark Normand, to present YouTube comedy series Human Trials, which puts stand-up comics in front of hyper-niche crowds. And then anime series featuring YouTube streamer iShowSpeed, written by One Piece showrunner Matt Owens, in the works of Brian Robbins' Big Shot Pictures. Now, I just want to tell you about a few shows that were announced in around the same time of year, around like during NewFronts upfront season in 2013. This is from AOL's NewFront presentation, once again in 2013, where it said it was going to triple the slate of programming that it had to produce as many as 15 shows in the coming year. Those include Sarah Jessica Parker exec producing a show called City Ballet, which is a docuseries about New York City Ballet, Hank Azaria's Fatherhood, a reality show about his experience as a new dad, and Nicole Richie in Candidly Nicole, based on her Twitter feed musings. Also, Gwyneth Paltrow, whose Second Chances is about a woman who have overcome hardships, and that's produced by Ryan Seacrest Productions. Also from that same time frame, the Yahoo NewFronts promised shows from Ed Helms, Zachary Levy, John Stamos, Morgan Spurlock, Cheryl Hines, and Rachel Harris. And I want to bring those up because it's not quite the same, but it feels very similar in that back 13 years ago, there was this hype cycle right around when like NewFronts was just starting to get into kind of the mainstream entertainment ecosystem. And Hollywood thought there was a play for their big stars to get into this space. There was this onslaught of shows and these types of headlines with big established names in the Hollywood world trying to make it in the creator world. And now it's not quite the same. I mean, Mark Normand, Alex Cooper, iShowSpeed are all celebrities that have come up from this creator world, but now they're all doing very Hollywood-like productions. This is just a small portion of these types of headlines we're starting to see again at TubeFilter. I think it's showing this maturation of the ecosystem and also just this moment in time we're at where all these things seem viable again. And you have these creators in this ecosystem producing this like more Hollywood seeming content for this space that they're thinking now can get a lot of financing, or brand partnerships or views, which make it worthwhile for them on their own channels.
You know what's really interesting? It's like I was going to say, what this says to me is, yes, there's a maturation in the universe, but in the sort of ecosystem. But I think what this also says to me is that like media is media, and it's taken a very long time for people to sort of understand that talent is talent, media is media, and digital and TV is not necessarily that one is better than the other, and that folks are willing to watch content across platforms. I mean, we talk a lot about connected TV and how like everything is old is new again, and people are watching things like YouTube and even LinkedIn on sort of TVs now. And what I think is interesting though, because I was sort of looking at rough stats, and I'm like, because I think on some of those announcements you were just talking about in 2013 were on AOL, right? And I was like, how many total kind of people were on AOL in 2013? How many like pay dial-up subscribers do you think were on AOL in 2013?
2013, man, paid dial-up subscribers on 2013 AOL?
Yeah.
Let's say 12 million.
2.5 million. How many people do you think are on YouTube today?
There's hundreds, there's billions on YouTube
so
today.
So basically
monthly.
what I'm trying to say, this is like a question you would ask me and it would be really annoying. So basically in 2013, AOL had 2.5 to 2.8 million pay dial-up subscribers. Right now in 2026 and YouTube, there's about 2.7 to 2.85 billion monthly active viewers. So the point is that like everybody on the planet who has a phone, has the internet, is on YouTube. And AOL, there were still like 2.5 million sounded like a lot, but it wasn't enough to like move the needle and change habits. And it's like, I think about, back in the day when like Shane Dawson, and I was working with him and he had like one or two of the top channels on YouTube and he had like millions of subscribers. To get on the top 10 of YouTube now, you've got to have hundreds of millions of subscribers. Like the ecosystem is just, it's all one big giant ecosystem. It's just like we're all connected via our phones and channels and internet and TV, and it's all one thing. And so when you've got a creator that's making a lot of waves, like an Alex Cooper, across various platforms, of course you're going to do some sort of deal with her, and of course it's going to be successful. I think from Sarah Jessica Parker doing her ballet documentary to today, there's just been this sort of, not even slow in the grand scheme of things, but like steady migration of like democratization of where people watch things. And so there was you would have a lot of those sort of shows that you mentioned, I would argue probably didn't do that well and weren't successful. And of course YouTube did their sort of originals and that didn't really work. So there's been so many starts and stops, and it's not that it didn't work. It wasn't time yet, right? Like we talk a lot. I think we talked a lot with Rich Bloom with Tubi, what they're doing. I think it's super smart, but it's also the timing is really good. We are in it right now. We're like all media is media, and creators are just part of that. And I talk a lot in my work, when I work with traditional media companies about like if you're not working with having a big digital presence and working with creators, you're just missing a spoke on the wheel at this point. That is a very important spoke. It's not to say you're not going to do traditional, whatever that even means. It's just like everything is media. And so what's old is new again.
I agree with you. I've also never been more offended. I would never ask you a question like that because the premise itself is off. You have to compare,
ask me
Lauren,
all the
unique
time,
visitors
annoying
to YouTube.
questions.
You have to compare unique visitors to AOL in 2013,
please.
not dial-up paying subscribers.
Whatever.
Just why they're getting the internet
The
connection.
point was made.
Still, your point's valid. In 2013, AOL had approximately 179 million average monthly unique visitors across all its platforms in the United States.
And billion,
and
2
then
billion.
you'd have to compare the 2 billion globally for YouTube. You got to assume that's several hundred million.
Do you see what
more.
he's doing right now? He's like shaming me publicly. No, keep this in. Keep this in. Keep this in.
Our viewers and listeners deserve this level of.
Oh, now you're going to tell people what they deserve.
Quality.
Okay. You're going to tell people what they deserve.
Quality and just fundamental fidelity to the truth.
I think people know what they need. I don't think they need you to tell them what they need. Well, that's good. All right, Josh, uploads, downloads. Moving on.
Lauren, real quick, YouTube just announced that it is giving every user the opportunity to create a shorts timer where they can go in and put their shorts timer to 15 minutes, 30 minutes, an hour, or 0 minutes, upon which when you reach that time of viewing shorts, it will come up with a screen that says, hey, you've reached your shorts viewing time. I'm guessing you can go back in and then change your shorts viewing time if you want.
I know you're hoping you can.
Out of it.
I know your children are hoping they can.
I already have this timer set up where it's just like total YouTube time I'm allowed to watch on my phone.
What's your time?
15 minutes.
6 hours a day?
It's 15 minutes a day.
7. Okay, go on.
And so I really like this. You talk about minor product updates that can have big impacts.
Yes.
I think just being able to create some friction
baby,
between you and a further viewing experience is going to help a lot of people get more work done and touch some more grass. I'm all here for it.
It's just hard because it's like, what are you supposed to do with like the 5 minutes in between? Like, let's be honest. Like, that's like, I'm not going to pick up the book and read a few pages in a chapter. That's
just don't do anything. Just
don't do anything.
Just have some thoughts.
That was a trick question. Just
have some thoughts.
Be bored. You know, when the creativity, you know, when the genius happens, it's when you're bored. That's when I tell my children.
People get good ideas in the shower. You know why? They're not bringing their electronics in.
Okay, Josh, I think we did it.
Lauren, I think that's it. I'll see you handing your children some mobile devices and setting the shorts timer to 0. And then when they can't watch anything, you just explaining that this is what YouTube is.
That's the best idea that you've had in a long time.
Fantastic. And if not there, I'll see you next week on Creator Upload. Today's show was produced by Lauren Schnipper, Joshua Cohen, that's me, and Adam Connor. It's edited by Adam Connor too. Original music is by London Bridge. You can check him out on Instagram at London Bridge Music. Make sure you subscribe to Creator Upload right here on YouTube, on Apple Podcasts as well, Spotify, or wherever you're listening. While you're there, give us a rating and leave us a comment. If you want to talk, hit us up at info@creatorupload.com. If you like our show, recommend it to a friend. If you love it, just tell everyone. Thanks for listening to Creator Upload, and we will be back next week.